Hey friends, welcome to my YouTube channel of pink tips to help you just kind of move forward in your business, whether you just are looking for glam and beauty tips or you need help with your glam and beauty business. I've been a sales director with years of experience, and so I'm going to share all of my content with you, master classes, how-tos, in-depth tutorials to help you move forward, whether you're my customer or not my customer, whether I'm your sales director or not your sales director. I have so much info to share with you to help you build an authentic business that just grows and feels really good. And so if you want to get access to my, consistent content that I'm uploading, go ahead and subscribe so you're always getting those notifications of what's new. And I can't wait to see your business and just your beauty skills grow.
Hey friends, I am so excited to come to you today with this training. I cannot take credit for this. I learned it at a national sales director debut from national sales director Tammy Craig. So I give Tammy Craig all of the credit for this. She did all of the legwork, all of the research, but I had to come live to share this because it is epic. And I think it's the thing behind the thing, right? Like the thing that is going to help your mindset in moving forward. And why, I've often asked it as, how is it that we know, on one hand, we know what we need to do to reach our goals, and then on the other hand, we also know that we're not doing it? And so what's the bridge between that gap? And Tammy completely nailed it. And so I'm so excited to share this with you, and I have a solution for you to work through it. So we're going to talk a little bit first. So the first thing I want you to think about is July 1st is always one of my favorite times of year because there's just like this hum and buzz and excitement in the air. Everybody has new goals. It's a fresh start. We often feel it again in January with like personal goals and stuff like that. But July 1st for us, right? Like there's this hum and excitement of the possibilities of this new seminar year. And so my first question, I want you to write this down. What was your dream on July 1st? Okay, maybe not your goal. Goals and dreams can be a little bit different, but what was your dream? Like what do you want, in this next year? And what's great is whether, let's say for example, it could be that you want to be a sales director. Okay, that's more of a goal. A dream would look like you want to be a sales director because of what that income is going to like do for your family vacation fund, or for you moving forward in your life, or whatever it is, and your debt journey, whatever you might be working towards. So typically the dreams and the goals that we have a deadline, and that deadline is typically June 30th, right? So it's our seminar year. So that's great, you guys. You have a dream, you have a goal, and it has a deadline. So what is yours? Okay, so what was your dream on July 1st? Okay, so that's step one. Okay, step two is going to get a little bit more interesting, but it's not hard. I promise you already know. As soon as I flash this guy up on the screen, you're going to know the answer to it. Okay, I want you to write down 2 actions that you've been avoiding. And you know in your mind that if you did these 2 things, maybe it's even 3, okay? If you need 3, go for it. But you know that if you did these 2 or 3 things consistently, it would make a massive difference in your goal. In fact, you know you would hit your goal. And you also know that you're not doing these 3 things, but you know that if you did, it would be the game changer. Okay, so write those down. I'm going to give you a second to do that. Now make sure while you're writing these down, right, we talked about this on our meeting last night, that a lot of people say, well, if I just had more leads, or if I just had more bookings, or if I just had more something. Remember that more is not a number. So how many bookings, how many team members, how many leads, and within what time frame? Is it 50 leads a week? Is it 3 team members a month? Is it, what's the metric and what's the time frame, right? Okay, so you wrote down your 2 actions. Okay, so here's what the question that Tammy asked, and it's kind of how I asked at the beginning. Like, we know what we need to do, we also know we're not doing it. The way that Tammy said it is this: if we have a passionate goal, and we know two actions that we know would make a significant difference in that goal, why are we not doing it consistently? And I have the answer, right? It's really simple. So Tammy, during the pandemic, studied human behavior, and this is what she came up with. But before I get to that, I've been thinking about this myself, and I kind of posed a question to myself, and the question was, when are the consultants that I train the most motivated? Okay. And my quick and easy answer was, well, right when they get off a seminar, right? Or you come to a big conference, you're like the most motivated. But there's a thing that happens that you're even more motivated than that. I would put that at number 2. Like you come home from a conference and you're like, wow, so excited. The other time that I came up with is when something happens at work. Okay, I often will get a Voxer from you and you'll say, I hate my job. My boss was so terrible to me today. I'm so tired of them, walking all over me. I'm so tired of working for someone else. I'm so tired of, I'm so tired of, I'm so tired of. And that, my friends, is when I have found you are the absolute at your top of motivation. But when things are okay at work or even tolerable, you don't have that same passion. And so why is that? Right? Um, I've even seen people rationalize it. Well, it's not that bad. They maybe 2 months ago were on Voxer like, I hate my job and my boss treats me like crap and I have no room for advancement or what all of the things are, but now it's okay, right? But yet there's no room for you to move up, or um, you might even like it and it's good, but is it great? Is it allowing you to live your best life? Maybe. I don't know, right? Are we rationalizing it, or, are we just okay with it? And is it going to allow you to make that major income leap, right? It's just good. And the question I always ask you guys is, are you living the life you've intentionally designed, or are you just living a decent life? And there's nothing wrong with living a decent life, but I think you're in Mary Kay and you're on this journey because you want to have a great life, right? Okay, so here's what Tammy came up with, and it's so great. Studying human behavior, this is absolutely true. It's biological, basically. Everything as humans we do to either, number 1, avoid pain, okay, so avoid pain, or number 2, to gain pleasure. Everything we do, like literally everything on earth we do to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. So for example, paying your bills, avoiding pain. Why don't you touch the stove? I don't know, sounds like fun, a hot stove. No, you do it. You don't do it because you want to avoid pain. Maybe you did it once when you were a kid and you learned the lesson. Now your brain is wired to avoid pain. Getting your hair and nails done. Why do you do that? Right? Pleasure. Um, Getting your hair done, just like all those things we like to do to pamper ourselves, is to add pleasure. Coming to Mary Kay events, most of you come to add pleasure to your life, right? And you could go on and on, like take anything you do in a day and it's either to avoid pain or gain pleasure. Okay, so this is the reason, right, why you have not been taking the actions you need to take towards the goals, is because you have associated more pain with doing the work than the pleasure you would gain from actually accomplishing that. So you've associated it's going to be hard. DIQ is hard. It's not going to be fun. I'm going to be stressed. It's going to be painful. Getting the bookings I need. Oh, the phone. I don't like talking to people. It's going to take an hour away from my family. All these things are pain in our minds, right? Like we've turned it into pain. In fact, some of us have made the actions like we've microanalyzed every single action so much that not only have we created pain, it's like excruciating, right? Like, oh my gosh, I don't want to call my prospects or my great customers and ask them to join my team, because what if they think they don't want to be my customer anymore? What if they don't like me anymore? I mean, we take it to like the 9th degree, right? So we've created all of this pain, and the only thing that keeps us seeking for it still is because we know there's got to be some kind of pleasure at the end of the tunnel that makes it worth it. But I feel like we've created this like it's like a rite of passage to feel this pain on the way there. Okay, so the answer to this question of why do I know what I need to do and I also know I'm not doing it is to associate more pleasure with what you can do on the way to the goal, right? So how can you associate more pleasure with the things that we know we need to do? Those two or three things you wrote down earlier. For one example would be really, really like not just thinking about it, but journaling it and writing it down about how it could change your family. Like even just booking today, how could booking today make an impact on your family? And that's where it's so great to use the goal tracking sheets with the income. We have one on our website. We talk a lot about and having those monthly income goals because that creates pleasure, right? If you put on there, nice dinner out for my husband and I on your income goal tracking sheet, and you hit that at the end of the month, that's pleasure, right? Even though you had to do the activity. So how do we change that, right? So obviously start associating more pleasure with those things, whether it's, for example, if it's booking for you. Associate more pleasure with getting on the phone and doing bookings because you're going to hit your goals. So kind of step one of that is identifying the pain. First, it's like acknowledge it, write it down. What is the pain that you have associated with those two or three actions you know you need to take that would make a significant difference in your business? Okay, so what is the pain? Maybe it's, well, I don't want to take an hour away from my kids, or I'm scared of the phone, or I'm worried that if I ask my customers, they're going to think I'm pushy, or they won't want to be my customer anymore. Um, and maybe they're like deep and dark things. Like I don't know if I'm 100% sold on this opportunity, so why it scares me to offer it to someone else. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got like something. I mean, even I've got two or three things that I've been avoiding, like I'm not exempt from this, just FYI. So write it down. Like, what pain have you associated with that? Maybe it's for you. I find people associate, myself included, associate a lot of pain with getting leads. And because we don't get leads, we don't get the bookings we need. And because we don't get the bookings we need, we don't progress to where we need to go. And it's that whole cycle of a beauty consultant kind of comes into play there. It's like we almost create it like, oh, that was so painful because I didn't hit my goal. Yet we're not doing the things to make it less painful. So I found getting leads is the biggest pain associative thing that you guys have put out there. And it could be just the fear of doing it. Like I'm just scared to talk to people I don't know, whether it's honoring working women or restaurant events. I think sometimes too, it's like the pain of just the same reason why sometimes we don't go on a walk every day or we don't do our workout. It's just the thought process in your mind of like putting on your workout clothes and going outside. It's like we even psych ourselves out of just getting ready to do it. And we do that with getting leads too. Like, oh, it's just going to be so much work to drive to a restaurant and do the event. But yet once we're there, we're like, oh my gosh, this totally is nothing. This is great. I have all these leads. I'm so excited. So identify what the pain is. Write it down, ladies. Okay, so here's the question that Tammy asked, and I think this is so great. What pleasures have you gained by avoiding the actions, the two or three things? What pleasures have you gained by avoiding them? You have gained none. Okay, in fact, now you've created a second level of pain for a lot of you where not only are you you haven't gained any pleasure, right? So we're at neutral basically. You haven't gained pleasure, but you're actually beating yourself up. And now beating yourself up is definitely, I don't even know what category that fits into, but it's a spiral, right? So now you're beating yourself up because you didn't do it. And the thought process that I have is you're giving up a lifetime of pleasure and living your best life for 1 hour playing outside. And when you word it that way, it kind of makes it seem like, okay, when you word it that way, right? So it's It's about that future. So there is zero pleasure in the avoidance of doing the things you know you need to do, right? Um, so here's how we're gonna work through this, right? And it might be a process and it might take you some time, but I think just kind of identifying that is the first step. So step one is visualize. So going back to the goal that you set on July 1st, I want you to visualize the pleasures of what doing that goal, like what pleasure will happen in your life when you hit the goal or you reach that dream. Okay, I want you to write the pleasures down. I want you to come up with so many. In fact, I want you to spend some time on this, like not a lot of time. I don't mean like do this for 4 hours. I mean like do it for a half hour, then, let your brain process and then pick it up for 10 more minutes, like another day. But don't take forever to do it, because again, we're avoiding things. um, I want you to think of all of the pleasures. What would the people in your life say about you? What would your life be like? And Tammy suggested to come up with 50 pleasures that you will experience when you hit your goal. Because she said after number 35, those are when they get juicy. And that's when the really, really important stuff starts to show up. Okay, so that's why you have to do 50, is because after 35, the important stuff starts happening. And it's honestly, she said this, and I agree with this. You're going to find it's a lot easier to list the pleasures that would happen when you do those 2 or 3 things you know you need to do consistently and hitting that goal than the pains, right? Because a lot of times the pains that we think of are just things we make up. Like, well, if I call and ask her to join my team, she's probably just going to say no. Okay, that's like totally a story, not even a good story that we're making up in our heads. Like it's, you know, we've decided for her, right? It's not our job to decide, it's our job to ask. It's not our job to decide. So okay, so then when you have your 50, okay, so you're gonna do all these steps, right? List your July 1st goal. What are the 2 or 3 actions you know you need to take? What is the pain you have associated with those? Then you're gonna write 50 pleasures about hitting your goal. And then when you have your 50, that's your new affirmation, right? Like that's your affirmations. You're going to type it up. In fact, remember how I had you guys make the booklets. Some of you that are looking to become sales directors, I had you make this booklet. And if you want the file for the booklet, and it had listed out like things that are important to you, why this goal is important to you, 3 blank checks, and who are you going to write them to and why. The women that you dream about working with, what are the qualities they have? And these people are looking at this booklet every single morning. And then I put a special page at the end. This, my friends, is another page for that booklet to look at every single day, is your 50 things. And maybe every day you recite 10 of them out loud. There is something about doing your affirmations out loud and reading things out loud versus just reading it in your head. And 1 copy of this first thing in the morning, you can use that to really pump yourself up. So I have two things I just want to leave you with, because this is it, you guys. I know this is so simple, but I think this is it. I really believe that it's just, we're just avoiding pain that we make up in our heads, right? Um, because and I do this too. Like I psych myself out of doing stuff sometimes, but then once I'm there, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Like even just doing a bridal fair, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so much work, pain, pain, pain. I'm gonna be so tired. And then when I'm there, I'm like, this is incredible. I am meeting so many great people. I already see half of them in my unit. We do this all the time. So some of this too is just learning how to talk to ourselves and others. So I forgot who Tammy quoted as saying this, but this is really good. If everything you said were guaranteed to come true, what would you start saying and what would you stop saying? If everything you said were guaranteed to come true, what would you start saying and what would you stop saying? Because a lot of this stuff is just stuff that we say to ourselves. And oh, I got to tell you guys this too. So I was watching the Today Show this morning, I just had it on in the background while I was working on some stuff. And Monica Lewinsky was on the Today Show. I mean, talk about a brave woman, right? Everything she's been through, and like one of the most famous scandals in modern history she was a part of. And she wrote this book about bullying. Like, she's really passionate about bullying, but it's about self-bullying and how the things that we say to ourselves. She actually, so I watched a video of these people where they actually wrote down the thoughts that they say to themselves. And then she had another chair. So this person sitting here, and they have a paper with the things that they say about to themselves on a daily basis. And then they had either their husband or their child or their mom or their dad in another chair. And she asked the person to say the things that they say to themselves to their loved one, and most of them couldn't do it. So if we can't say it to a loved one, we should not be saying it to ourselves. And the same goes for, even just the stories we make up about, oh my gosh, well, what if they all say no? Imagine if your kid was thinking that about like their fundraiser they have to do for basketball, or about, I mean, you would just like, you would want to dive in there and just be like, no, you just got to ask people, right? So we need to do that for ourselves. So I hope this helps you. I hope you do the assignment, right? Like, really take this seriously, write it out, and 50 pleasures that hitting your goal this year is going to lead you to. Because and then looking at it every single day. Are you looking at your booklets that we made earlier last month? And continue with that, because it's a constant head game, right? So hope this helps you guys. Have a good rest of your day.